before we start. Everybody, let's do a selfie. Let's get up right now. Everybody's kind of lagged right now. It's the afternoon. Get up right now. I want to send this to my mother. My mother doesn't believe I'm on stage. But I want to show her that I really am. Come on, get in this, guys. All right, count 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Great. That's what we want to have, energy. Let's go, baby.
Hello.
Let's go.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Tuan. And as Hao suggested, this is going to be a session about building a lifestyle business in Vietnam, specifically in F&B. As Hao said, it is a lifestyle business. And a lot of people focus on the lifestyle, opening a cafe, opening a restaurant because you want a certain life. But they forget about the business side. There's a lot of money to be made and even more money to be lost. So today, we're going to talk to 2 guests who has a lot of successful businesses in town. We'll get to know their story and how they operate. A little bit about me. My name is Tuan. I was born in Vietnam, but I was raised in Los Angeles. I came back in 2013, and since then, we have focused on 2 main businesses. One is a design agency. Our clients include Apple, Muji, Vietcetera, and other businesses. And the other is an F&B business. We have together across 4 brands, about 10 locations. That's my story. Calvin, can you tell us a little about us and then maybe pass it to Jason?
Sure. My name is Calvin Bui. I'm a chef, a restaurateur. I've been in Vietnam for 15 years. I would say that over the 15 years in Vietnam, I've learned a lot of hardships, learned a lot of failures. But I've also learned to find my voice about who I am and what I stand for. We own restaurants called CTY, a new restaurant called Mum Mum that's being opened right now. I've worked with Hao at Vietcetera. I can say that during my 15 years here, it hasn't been an easy ride, but I would say that it's mine, it's authentic. Now, Jason, I've known you for a long time, and you are the bartender du jour in this country.
I have no idea what that means.
Neither do I. It sounded good.
The bartender du jour.
But I want to talk about, Mum Mum, the new restaurant. We're doing modern Vietnamese. This is my 10th project over 15 years. Not all of them have made it. A lot of them have shut down. You own a cocktail bar called 86 Proof.
Yes.
A place that if you love cocktails, you have to come by. It's probably one of the best places in town. But I remember your original location and how your landlord kicked you out of that location.
Oh, we're going there already.
Oh, we're going deep, baby.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, you're not from Vietnam. You're, what, Australian?
I'm Australian.
Yeah, I can't understand your English. But what was it like coming to Vietnam with your partner, putting everything you had into a business, and then to have a landlord say, oh, I'll take that?
Yeah, I mean, it was really difficult, of course, at the time. We had just, gotten through COVID at that time, and we were ready to reopen. So we spent almost a year just sort of hemorrhaging money, trying to keep our team together, trying to keep sort of rent paid. We got a little bit of a discount, but it wasn't very much at all. And to finally be able to open the doors, and for our landlord to be like, you got 40 days to get out. Of course, it was really, really tough. We felt, though, my partner and I, Rochelle, we felt that...
Happy birthday, Rochelle. Happy birthday.
Shut up, I'm talking. We thought the brand was bigger than the location. So we were able to move down the road. It wasn't very far. We got a really good deal on the villa that we're in and was able to carry the soul of the brand into the new location. We're very lucky to have a lot of love in this city. We have a lot of support, we have a lot of friends, we have a lot of family. So everybody kind of got together, bounded together, and 86 lives on, even though it's not in the original location. We're able to seamlessly, I think, and pretty quickly transition into the new location.
Yeah, I'm glad Calvin asked that question because the first question is going to be about opportunities and challenges. But just before that, Jason, can you tell us your story so the audience can kind of get a context of your background, things like that?
So, yeah, my name's Jason. I've been a bartender for about 15 years, and I've been in Vietnam for 8 years. I came here so I went to furniture for a little bit. I sold that furniture company and had to move to Vietnam to sort of hand it over. Decided I was going to take a 1-year gap year, and I guess I'm still on that gap year 8 years later.
Aren't we all?
But yeah, F&B bars have always been a passion. I love hospitality, and very, very lucky to have the opportunity to open up restaurants and bars here in Vietnam and make a very cultural change, cultural impact in that space.
Yeah. For the OV audience here, what are some unique challenges and opportunities for OVs? People with certain backgrounds from abroad, like yourself, like all of us, that they can bring to Vietnam and that they'll face in Vietnam?
I guess 8 years ago when I got here, the lack of structure is very challenging. I come from Australia where everything is sort of, the processes are set in stone. And here it's a little bit all over the place. It's a little bit up in the air. Everything is tới đó tính. Like when we get there, we'll figure it out. So learning to be very reactive instead of very proactive was a skill that I guess I developed here. So just sort of getting to a problem or situation and being able to troubleshoot it on the spot, trust your gut, trust your intuition, make the decision, and just sort of back yourself. I think that's one of the things.
And I think it's a feature, not a bug actually, because there are a lot of things set in stone in, let's say, Australia or America, where you cannot change, right? Whereas here, if you're creative, if you are reactive, if you're flexible, then you can actually make your way through that rigidity, otherwise rigid place. Do you have any unique opportunities or challenges for the OV audience?
Yeah, let me be the opposite side of this. So the challenges we face are many. But I think the value prop here is this. 15 years ago, I was trying to tell my story. A Vietnamese kid, grew up in LA, eating tacos. My first taco shop completely failed. My first one failed. But through the time, I was able to tell my story. I was able to tell my experience and cook the food the way that I do and give the audience something that they can't get anywhere else but here in Vietnam. I think that what we have as OVers is this. In a country with 100 million people with an average age of 25, you can tell your story about your food, about how you grew up. And there's an audience that's dying to just grasp into it because they haven't been overseas. They haven't experienced what Thanksgiving is, or Christmas ham is, or even 4th of July hot dogs. So in this day and age, the CapEx to open something is much less than it is abroad. And it's the audience, it's so much more engaging when it comes to food and beverage that they want to experience, they want to listen. And it's your job to tell that story. How's that one?
I wasn't really listening, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm also really sorry. I just flew back from Paris last night, so I'm super jet lagged. I forgot to mention that both Jason and Calvin's are clients of our company. I'm so sorry, guys. Jason, we all know it's important to adapt ways of working to Vietnam, like you said, right? You have to be flexible. What about the concept itself? Do you have to adapt the concept to the market?
We operate in Tao Dien, in District 2. So those who know, I'm assuming it's an expat hub. No, because the reason why we've been able to do what we do is we've brought home for a lot of expats into Saigon, into Tao Dien. 86 Proof was everybody's home bar. There was nothing sort of special about it. There was nothing over the top. We weren't very creative in our cocktails. They're classic cocktails, beers, wines. However, you get a very Western sense of hospitality there. It's when the owners come out and will ask you how your day is. It's when we'll remember your name, we'll remember your order, we'll remember who your kids are. We've seen kids grow up from, babies when they first step into 86, and now they're 6, 7 years old. We've seen year 7 kids come in, and now they're first year college students. The difference between 86 and other bars is we're not a special occasion place where your everyday after work will knock off and have a couple of beers. And it's just a very sort of Western sort of mindset, a very Western culture in service, which at the time, 6 years ago, just wasn't there. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people have a lot of love for our brand. It's just been a part of their story, part of their journey at 86 Proof and in Saigon.
I want to ask you the same question, but I want to dive a little bit deeper. Let's say in Saigon, especially Thao Dien, you didn't have to adapt much that concept, right, of that home bar, the neighborhood bar. But then that same concept, is it scalable across Vietnam to reach more Vietnamese people, or that is something that you don't really worry about at this stage?
No, it's not scalable. And that's one of the issues that we're facing right now. Now that we have 2 brands that are, I guess, culturally significant, and we have made impacts on the industry, how do we take the next step and how do we scale? And our businesses are so reliant on presence and people that the short answer is you cannot scale it. Otherwise, you lose the soul within your business. And at that point, you're just a building with 4 walls, and there's nothing really special about your brand or your business. Hospitality is very, very hard to scale. It all hinges on the presence of the people. And that's why we're very lucky to be able to keep a lot of our staff for years. We've developed them from very low positions up to managerial positions, and they have relationships with our customers that cannot be trained or cannot be bought. Our customers will greet our employees greet all customers with hugs, with handshakes instead of just a hi, how are you? And that's what keeps people coming back. So short answer is it's not scalable. If you find a way, let me know. Yeah.
And Calvin, you mentioned your taco shop. I know that place because I was there every day after work. You remember?
I do.
So did you have to adapt that concept to Vietnam, or you just brought tacos from LA to Vietnam?
I think when it comes to food in general, let's not talk about El Camino, talk about CTY, or even the new restaurant Mum Mum. I think telling the story about Vietnamese food through the lens of somebody who lives here, somebody who eats bánh cuốn every morning from the same lady, or going to eat bánh tráng trộn from the guy who rides a bicycle around. I think those are important stories to tell. I would say this, and not to shit on your point, Jason, because I love shitting on your points. I think with those who come to Vietnam, especially travelers, they want to experience Vietnamese food. They want to experience what Vietnam is, but they want to do so in an environment that maybe isn't on the street or in some market where you're going to get robbed. They want to do it in a place where there's service, there's experience, there's ingredients that maybe are a higher caliber, but they still keep to the story and the regions of Vietnamese food. So I'm not trying to say that you don't have to, or you shouldn't create something for the local audience. But Vietnamese food is so rich, and it's so diverse, and it's crunchy, and it's flavorful, and has all these great umami notes. Why not try to tell those stories? Why not try to look at it through a reimagined eyes and really, as Vietcetera say, bring Vietnam to the world and the world to Vietnam?
I will say this.
Please do.
8 years ago when I arrived, there was nothing sort of in Thao Dien especially. You didn't have to reinvent the wheel 8 to 10 years ago. We were just so open for operators to come in and bring concepts from abroad here, and they were very widely accepted. The internet was starting to become a real big thing here, and so our sort of market and our audience was starting to get influences from Japan, from Korea, from America, from Australia. It was like a melting pot of new influence. So you didn't have to reinvent the wheel. 10 years on, 8 years on, yes, now we have to get a little bit more creative. Now there's a little bit more niches. Now there's a little bit more sort of room to develop identity. But 8 years ago, you copy and you paste, and more or less, if you did it well, it would work. Yeah.
So obviously, our representation here doesn't cover, the Jollibees, the Golden Gates, the big conglomerates with millions of middle managers, right? So how do you split your time between your outlets? Right now, 2, but maybe there's a lot more in the future. Mm-hmm. How do you plan to split yourself?
So our 2 bars are like 40 meters away from each other. They're just down the road on the same side, both on Song Tui. I guess getting around to both bars is quite easy. My time now is mainly in Mummy. I'm back behind the bar, I'm back bartending, back sort of doing guest shifts. My lovely partner, she takes care of 86. And we also share staff between our 2 bars. We have managers that were 86 move over to Mummy and vice versa. We use 86 as a training ground for our bartenders to get them up to pace, to get them for them to learn our processes, our procedures, and classics. And then we'll move them over to Mummy once they're ready to take on a more modern mixology role. And then we'll move the Mummy bartenders back to 86 and vice versa, back and forth. So we're able to use both teams. If Mummy has an event, then the 86 proof guys will support that event. And if 86 has an event, the Mummy guys will go and support that event. But yeah, it's walking distance, it's 40 meters away. 86 is somewhat automatic at the moment. People know what they're getting at 86, whereas Mummy at the moment requires more presence, a little bit more of a personal touch. It's 1 year old, so it's still quite new. We'll get to a stage where we will be a little bit more free going, but right now it is very labor intensive. Yeah.
Calvin, I know you're also a content creator, for lack of a better word. I'm kidding. Is Abby still here? She left.
We have 5 minutes left.
Yeah. Do you see any trends out there in the food industry that you want to share with the OV crowd, that you're trying to exploit?
Yeah, I think the trend that I'm seeing right now is telling the story from your childhood. Really being able to bring to life certain experiences that you grew up in and you grew up with, flavors, textures, other things. And there's so many great grassroots chefs right now in Vietnam. I came here 15 years ago. There was only a handful of us. And these were our line cooks, sous chefs, chef de cuisines. Now they have their own restaurants. They have their own accolades. And they're able to tell stories from their childhood. And it's great to be able to see how they grew up. Because I didn't grow up in Vietnam. I grew up in America. I grew up with, hamburgers and hot dogs. So it's great to see what Vietnamese looks like through their perception. And I think the trend right now is to be true to yourself, true to your skill sets as a chef, and tell that story, Give somebody the experience when they come to your restaurant. By the way, my 2 restaurants are CTY, Kitchen and Bar, and Mum Mum. Little plug.
I really wanted to ask another question, but it says please wrap up. Do you have time for one more? Okay, cool.
I was like,
Just on the trend side, Jason, I listened to an interview lately with the CEO of Blackbird Group. Black Sheep Group in Hong Kong. And one of the trends hitting his group is alcohol consumption sales are going down. Partly because post-pandemic behaviors, but also health trends and things like that. I don't think it's here in Vietnam yet, or has it already arrived?
Low ABV cocktails is something that's picking up abroad. I think Vietnam or Southeast Asia, we get trends sort of last, on the tail end of it. We have this phenomenon in Vietnam called the balloon. And
what?
The balloon.
The balloon.
The balloons.
The balloon.
Oh.
Matrix. Yes.
Okay.
And that is the number one reason why alcohol consumption is not as high as it should be. Where culturally in Vietnam, we do drink. The market is moving towards more of a health sort of forward, health conscious era. We're not so worried about that. We are more worried about bringing product back to the spotlight in Vietnam, and that's cocktails, and that's food and entertainment in one spot. We call it vibe dining, and that will never really take off if people are just sort of huffing balloons, right? And has become illegal, so we are seeing a bit of a phase out. So to answer your question, in about a year when the balloons are out, vibe dining or vibe culture becomes king. So those who can do product well, food, beverage, and entertainment, provide energy, provide a really good experience, atmosphere, they will be at the top. So I think you're going to start seeing a lot of, big club groups make a step into more traditional F&B, restaurants and bars in the next sort of year. And that just sort of highlights the trends overseas that clubs are closing and vibe dining is taking over. So I think Vietnam is sort of, we're aware of that and we are moving, and that's why we're a cocktail bar, but then when we want to throw a party, we'll block off the street and we'll throw a party. You got guys like, Bambino, Yunka, Papaya, that's all vibe dining. And there's no secret why we're doing it. It's because that's what sort of the trends are. Yeah.
See. And I guess to wrap up, I would love to take a question from the audience. Anybody have any question for our panelists or the topic?
Anybody at all, just raise your hand. Tug your ear. Oh, I see a hand back there.
Can we get a
Thank God.
a microphone to BK? Is that BK?
Are you coming up? Oh. Thanks, bud.
All right, quick question. So in Japan, I feel like what you said, right? The soul is so connected to the owners, and so you have a lot of like small restaurants. How do you see this in Vietnam? Like, do people still are very interested in the big brands and hey, I want a chain, and chain means quality, or are you trying to basically build a lot of sub-brands, small brands? Where do you see the trend going?
I think that anybody in this room who thinks you can just invest into Vietnam and then you're just gonna have a cash cow, you're gonna fucking lose your money. You need to build experience, brand loyalty, and you gotta be the face. You gotta give them something. Remember why you got into this business. There's much easier ways to make money. OnlyFans, like this guy.
Subscribe to my OnlyFans.
But I will say that in this day and age, you need to know who your customer is. You need to know what their needs are, and then how you're going to give them what they want. But be authentic to yourself and be true to who you are. Please wrap up.
I think having great marketing and having great aesthetics and will get people through the door once. And the experience and the people and the soul within that business dictates whether or not they will come back or not. That will dictate longevity of your business. Everybody can open with a massive sort of spike and get everybody through the doors and everybody's posting on Instagram and blah, blah, blah. But will they come back a second or a third time? In my experience, no, unless there's a person or something or experience inside that business that warrants them coming back. Because we don't have a problem with choice. There's a plethora of sort of businesses opening every day, closing every day. So it's always something new, it's always something dynamic. But yeah, so cool.
Yeah. All right, we got to wrap up. Thanks, everyone. Do they have your contact info?
No.
Feel free to follow the guys on their business platforms, their social media platforms. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, CTY and OVs.
Thank you.
Wrap.
Thank you.